if you're the 1A. You certainly should know your evidence in the 1A if you're the 1A. You certainly should know your positions that you're going to take and whether or not they're conditional or dispositional or whatever on counterplans if you're the 1A. You don't need to look at your partner to get those answers. You're in charge. Invest yourself and engage in the debate. This is what you need to be. You need to be prepared. Yeah, you got to do your homework. Please do that first. But then you also have to be prepared to debate. If that means fewer video games, that's what it means. If that means fewer chats online, that's what it means. If that means fewer opportunities to be on Facebook or other public sources or communications, that's what it means. If that means watching less Cartoon Network, that's what it means. It means that you have an obligation to first finish your grades and your homework, and to second, be prepared to debate. You need to know the evidence, which means you need to read the evidence. You need to be aware of what the issues are with your app. You need to be aware of what the issues are with your dis app. You need to be aware of what the issues are with solvency of somebody else's app. That requires you to work. And finally, the engagement thing that I've already mentioned. 100% of your attention, 100% of the time, engage yourself in the debate round. I'll not even read these. They're up there for you. You can't be mean, snarky, a jerk. Be Maggie. Be Tyler. Be nice. Kill them with kindness. That's how you win debates. That's how you get great speaker points. It becomes important, especially in cross-examination, if that's what you do. Now, if you take nothing else from this morning's lecture, figure out how to be a cross-examiner and how to answer cross-examination questions. See, doing cross-ex, asking the questions, it's this simple. This is how you do cross-examination. You ask a question. You get an answer. You ask another question. Nothing more to it than that. Hey, old man, you flew all the way from California just to tell us that? Yeah! It's just that easy, but it's exactly what virtually none of you do. Ask a question. Get an answer. Ask another question. That's all you do to be a great cross-examiner and get a 30 in my book. How do you answer cross-examination questions? How are you cross-examined? What's the best way to be cross-examined? One way is to look at the judge, but the other way is to get asked a question and give an answer. Then you get asked another question, and guess what? You just give another answer. You don't need to argue. You don't need to advocate. You don't need to try to persuade the judge. You don't need to repeat your entire app. You don't need to repeat your entire dis app. You just get asked a question and you answer the question. That's all there is to it. Here's why cross-examination matters. Cross-examination matters because you are in front of the critic for 6 minutes. 3 minutes asking questions, 3 minutes answering questions. That 6 minutes gives you an opportunity to connect to the judge. You have 2 chances to be a good cross-examiner or cross-examinee. You don't get 2 chances to do 2 constructives. You don't get 2 chances to do 2 rebuttals. You get 2 chances to cross-examine or answer. And you use and make use of those examinations. You are online in cross-ex. Make sure you are effective in cross-ex. Make use of those 6 minutes. Make use of those 2 opportunities. How do you become great at cross-examination? It's real simple. You prepare. You ask leading questions, and you listen. You listen to the questions, you listen to the answers, and you use the answers. Preparing for cross-ex requires you to read the evidence beforehand. Read the evidence that the other team is running. Read the evidence that the other team has read in the 1AC. And ask questions about their evidence. Knowing your stuff is the key to being an answering cross-examination and being effective at answering cross-ex. And learning about where the debate is going, about the end game, about where it is you want to be, will help you understand how you can answer questions and how you should answer questions in any given round. The only two answers you want in cross-examination when you're asking questions are the words yes and the words no. If you're prepared, if you've listened, if you understand what the other team has said, the only two answers you should ever get in cross-ex are the words yes or no. You get an answer, you remember it, you use it. You get an answer, you remember it, you use it. You only want, because see, you don't want the other team, when you're asking questions, to repeat their entire affirmative to the judge. Yes or no are the only answers you want in cross-ex. But you can't be a jerk. You can't say, it's a yes or no question, answer it that way. Don't do that. You're not directing the stage. You're not the producer. How you frame your questions create that. The great ones in cross-examination are kind. The great ones in cross-examination are smart. The great ones in cross-examination prepare their cross-ex. You get all this evidence, you put it in a pile. How many of you have ever written out cross-examination questions before a tournament starts? You're great. That's what you do. You write out the questions before the tournament starts. That's how you get prepared. Now, the only thing you do is, when you write out your questions, you only ask leading questions. See, the words who elicit a response that is bigger than the words yes or no. Starting the question out with where elicits a response greater than yes or no. Starting a question with the word when elicits a response greater than yes or no. The three words you never want to start a cross-examination question with are written in black with black background and red letters. You never want to start a cross-examination question out with, what? What is your first contention? You don't want to know, because you don't want to hear what it is. Because if you're hearing what it is, the judge is hearing what it is again. You don't want them telling the judge twice what they've already said. That's why you listen and don't ask the words what. You don't want to ask why. Well, why did this happen? And the reason you don't ask it is because you don't want to hear the answer. You don't want the judge to hear why their affirmative is smart. You don't want to hear why their disadvantage is true. You don't ask why. And in a big way, you never want to start a cross-ex question with how. Well, how does your plan solve the problem? My God, they might tell you. And if they tell you that, they're going to tell the judge. And if they tell you in cross-ex, they don't have to tell you in the 1AR. You want to make them answer the who, what, where, when, why, and how questions in the 1AR. Because you want the 1AR to waste their time answering those questions. You don't want to use your cross-ex time getting those questions answered. Here is the best way to get a yes or no question. Here's the best way to start. Here's how you do this. Lundberg writes blank. Say they quote Chris Lundberg. Chris Lundberg, for those of you who don't know, is a PhD at the University of North Carolina. He writes a lot about debate. He's a very, 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 very bright person about debate argumentation and theory. He's a very smart coach. And he writes a lot that people quote. You take the evidence that they read. Your Lundberg card from 2017. Lundberg writes, da 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 da. You fill in the blank with what they didn't read. You don't ask what they didn't read. You tell them what they didn't read. And you finish your question with the word correct. Because if you ask the question that way, they can only say yes or no. You're not asking them, what did he say? You're telling them what did he write. Same thing in the second one. When they have the real small font and you see a but or a however or a no it doesn't work or but in contrast that. The Smelko evidence you read. In 3-point font it says da 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 da. Correct? The answer is yes or no. You have already given the judge the bad part of their ev. You read it to them. They don't get a chance to explain it. You read the plan text, you read the counterplan text, and you read the K alternative text. And you use that text in your question. You don't ask, what is your plan? They might read it. You don't ask, what does your plan do? They might read it. You don't ask, what is your critical alternative? They might tell you again. You ask the question by reading their text to them in the portion that you think is a problem. Here's how it works. You write your questions out before the tournament starts. Get yourself 10, 15 questions that might come up every round. One of the questions should always be, are you running your positions on the neg conditionally? They will say yes or no. Always ask that. That way you know it's on the debate, it's done. Have questions written out that are yes or no format. Second, start your questions that you write out with the words is or does. Because that tends to lead to, is it? Yes it is. Does it? Yes it does. Is it? No, no it isn't. Does it? No it doesn't. You don't ask why it is or it isn't. You don't ask why it does or it doesn't. You ask whether it is or it isn't. And that's a yes or a no answer. That way you get a yes or a no answer without being a jerk and saying, oh, this is a yes or no question. This is my process. Who cares? Second, if you do that, start with is or does, and you finish your question with the word correct, that tends to lead the responder to say yes or no. Yes, what you have said is correct. No, what you have said is not correct. Without getting to much of an explanation in cross-section. All right, last part of this lecture. Making decisions. Winning debates is about making winning decisions. Debates are lost in the constructives in the 1AR. You miss something big. They run a Trump good politics argument and you assume it's a Trump bad politics decision. You feed into all the reasons why politics Trump good is there as opposed to Trump bad. You make a mistake. They run a Russia advantage and you answer a China advantage. You blow it in the constructives. Hard to recover. You blow it in the 1AR, almost impossible to recover. Debates are lost in the constructives in the 1AR. Debates are won in the final 3 rebuttals. Debates are won in the 1AR by giving good offensive answers. Debates are won in the 2NR and the 2AR by putting the puzzle together. Debates can be lost in those speeches by dropping something significant, but debates typically are lost in the constructives through fundamental mistakes, and debates get won in the last rebuttal. Here's what happens when you make a bad strategic decision in a debate. A good decision will save you time. A strategic decision to concede an argument. I don't have to answer that because and explain it. A good decision ends the risk that the judge is going to decide against you on that particular argument. A good strategic decision solves problems down the road that you're going to have in this debate round. And a good strategic decision achieves net benefits for you in the debate. It saves you time. It saves you having to argue irrelevant things. It enforces what needs to be made and done. A bad decision is something that's argumentative. Hi, I'm going to prove a point. And you waste your time proving a point that's meaningless. A bad decision costs you time. Time is valuable. Time is your friend, it is your enemy. A bad decision allows for distraction. The judge gets focused on something utterly irrelevant to the ultimate decision. And you get focused on something utterly irrelevant. And a bad decision creates other problems for you. You have to be wary of making good, sound, strategic decisions. Your decision is centered around this balance. Do I fight this argument? Do I fight on this flow? Do I fight on this advantage? Or do I concede it? Understanding why you would do that in the big picture game of things is what matters. Why you would choose to fight matters. Same thing is true with using a good choice. Using the argument of the other side against them is because we win. Using the argument of the other side and conceding it saves you time, but it doesn't cost you the debate. Using the argument of the other side requires that you be smarter than the other team, because you need to know what the end game of the debate round is. The constant struggle in any high-level debate, which many of you will be in. Do I concede arguments? And when do I concede them? Do I concede them before the block? Do I concede them after the block? What arguments do I concede? Do I concede their standards and limits on topicality in order to win the framework debate? Do I concede their impacts on the disad in order to win the case debate? Conceding arguments is sometimes good, but it's sometimes dangerous. You have to know when to concede them so the other side doesn't gain an advantage from your concession, but you also need to know what it is that you're conceding in order to evaluate the impact of the debate. Second, the ability to collapse arguments. Attacking the single most important element of that argument and the weakest element of the other side's argument sometimes takes the entire argument out of play. It saves you time to eliminate one link in the chain. It saves you time to eliminate one hinge of the door that they're trying to open or close with an argument. Beat the weakest link, you win the debate. And finally, your job as a debater is to conquer. You have to be nice, but you also have to be ruthless about the argument. Your goal is to win. If you have a profound belief in your personal identity arguments, believe them, run them, win with them. If you have a profound belief in the value of the politics debate, run your politics dissent. If you have a profound belief that policy debate is the be-all, end-all, and only way to debate, be a policy debater and run and win your framework debates. The job of debating is up to you, but you're nice in doing it and you're ruthless in conquering. Apply pressure. Offense wins ballots. Not being offensive, but having offense on every flow. Offense wins ballots because offense means that the other side has to play defense. It means it occupies their time. Applying pressure with arguments, not with character assassination, not with name calling. Applying offense with the arguments that you make makes a huge difference. The best way to do that is to know where the debate's going to end before it even starts. What will win you this debate? Here's what I tell people in terms of strategic debating. In the last two rebuttals, before the 2NR and before the 2AR, the 2NR and the 2AR have to talk to their partner. And they have to say, partner, I got two questions for you. What will lose us the debate if I don't answer it in this 2AR? And the 1AR says this, this, and this. The second question, what will win the debate for us if I win this argument? And the 1AR says this, this, and this. You communicate before the 2AR. You ask the same two questions as the 2NR of the 1NR. You say, hey, 1N, what will lose us the debate if I don't answer it? Typically, it will be some kind of a theory argument. Don't lose theory arguments. Put ink on paper. Second, it will be what will win us the debate? What is our best chance of winning this debate that I need to focus on? In the 2AR and 2NR, you need to play defense to beat the arguments that can beat you, but you need to play offense to explain the arguments that will win you the debate. You have to think going into the round about the long-term big picture of the debate itself. Here's what you need to know, kids, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, friends. You need to know this. Your job is to win the debate. Notice the word just is in italics. You're not just winning the argument. You're not just winning a flow. You're winning the debate. And that's what really matters. And that's how you have to focus and frame your attention. Win the debate. Don't just win the argument. Don't just win the flow. Win the debate. Look, you've been bored by me now for 3.5 hours. Thank you for listening. You're obviously very well brought up because you're paying attention, which is more than I can say for most of the juries that I talk to and put asleep. I get my clients put on death row. You're very attentive. You're here for a reason, so thank you. Second, be happy. And if you get some sleep tonight, that's important. And if anything that I have said offends you, please come up and tell me, and I will apologize for it. I don't mean to be sarcastic. I do. But I don't mean to embarrass anyone, or I don't mean to criticize your argument choices. I mean to give you ideas about how debate works. Your job is to enjoy the activity, and whether that is arguing personal identity politics, whether it is advocating against racism, whether it's advocating for gender equality, whether it's advocating for transgender bathrooms in schools, it doesn't matter. Whatever you want to argue to enjoy the activity, do that. There is no shame in making any argument except an offensive argument, or an argument that offends the sensibilities of your opponents. Stay humble in your victories, but stay sane in your defeats. See, you still will have other rounds left. Like I told you last night, I don't have any other rounds left. I still think those 3 judges should burn in hell, and I hope they're still doing that. But you need to be sane in your defeats, as well as humble in your victories. And when you come back after the next hour, you will get the greatest card ever written, you will get the best debaters, and we will hear how you can use debate in the real world to get what you want. Let's take a 10-minute break and come back and